I want to talk about how a lot of Americans have seemed to lost their sense of common sense, and this is a big reason why I want to move out of the United States, or at least out of the big city, as I talked about yesterday. A number of years ago, I went to a Six Flags theme park I think I went to the one in San Francisco. I think it's Magic Mountain. And I had a good time there, but I had one bad experience just as I was leaving. I had lined up to go on this ride. I think it was uh, um, it's a spinning ride. I can't remember the name. And as I got to the front of the line, I got booted out of the ride because the ride attendant said that I had lined up too late because she had been watching the line and she had closed the line when these two people in front of me, that she was somehow able to remember their faces, it was at the back of the line, and I was very confused. I'm thinking to myself, gee, the line was open when you came here. Uh, and she insisted that I get out. I said, well, there's an empty seat right there. And she said, no, I saw these people were the last and I have to close the line. Now, I understand, if the ride is full and there's like one person, sure, you don't want to run the ride one more time. That would make a whole lot of sense. You're running the ride anyway, and it's not like I cut in line. You know, if I had ran in there and cut in front of the yellow tape or whatever that they put up, yes, I understand that. But, long story short, how about some common sense, right? The book might say one thing, but realistically, use your common sense. Now, I was on a plane one time. I'm so glad I haven't had to fly these last 3 years. I run into trouble every time I fly because I have dietary restrictions, and I gotta be careful. The person sitting next to me is eating something that might trigger me. Now, I sometimes tell the person next to me. I usually prefer to tell the person next to me as we're boarding, because sometimes when food is served and they hear something unexpectedly, some people have a tendency to get defensive, right? So usually as I'm boarding, I'll introduce myself, talk a little bit of, build some rapport with the person, right? Talk about what we're doing in Taiwan, and then, by the way, I have food allergies. It's okay. It's okay for you to eat whatever, but please just keep your food in your area and don't make sure to clean your hands afterwards. Something to that effect, right? Most of the time it goes very well, but every now and then I get somebody who gets really angry and defensive. I hate to think what it would be like this year. People are already getting angry over other things on airplanes. But how about a little bit of common sense, right? We're talking about a 12-hour flight, and it's not even, I didn't even say you couldn't eat something. Do you seriously want there to be a inconvenience, or worse yet, a full-blown medical disaster halfway through the plane, and you're going to be late on your vacation or whatever you're doing? Is that beneficial to you as well? Even if it is, right, even if your mission is to spread some kind of ableism, right, don't you think there's a better venue to do it besides on an airplane where your face is going to be blasted on the television screen, right? Okay, now, I had another problem on an airplane one time. I had booked a seat on a specific side of the plane. I think I was flying from LA to Tokyo, and I booked it on the left side of the plane because there was something I wanted to view during the flight. And when I got to the gate, I noticed they had changed my seat to the right side of the plane, and I asked if they could switch it back, and they couldn't because a family needed to be accommodated for some reason. I get on the plane and I talk to everybody in my row, again, building rapport, right? How's Tokyo? You know, how was Los Angeles, depending on where I thought they were from, right? Now, and then the whole row agreed to switch with me. So I think the people in ABC switched with the people in DEF, basically. But the flight attendant was really angry, saying that I was delaying their flight. They had already been delayed for some other issue, if I remember correctly, and the flight attendant was very angry at me. Now, I'm thinking to myself, if you can accommodate a family to put them together, couldn't you have made the switch from ABC and DEF on your computer as well? Why is it only that a family can be accommodated, right? Maybe they do have some kind of policy of putting people together. But again, how about use this ahead of policy, right? That's what I'm thinking to myself. I got into a disagreement with a business that over a parking issue one time. I have a favorite restaurant, and then next to it there's a laundromat, right, that I do my laundry at, and it's literally like half a block away, and I need to get some exercise anyway, so I'll usually just leave my car parked at one place and walk back and forth between the businesses that I want to. I do this a lot in a lot of places, but one time I went to that laundromat and the guy was angrily chasing me down, saying I can't leave my car there and go off to do other business. And I'm thinking to myself, so you want people to pollute and not get exercise and end up drawing on Medicare, just so you could. And plus, it works both ways, right? There are people who are going to park here and walk there. There are people who are going to park there and walk here. At the end of the day, it might all cancel out. The effect is that you're going to pollute a lot more and use a lot more Medicare. Is that your goal? And so I'm thinking that way. Obviously, you could argue there are people who are going to abuse the system, park there, and then fly out to another country and come back. Yes, there are people who are going to do, but again, use this first, right? Deal with those people, right? But you use this ahead of the book, right? That's what I'm saying. I had a bad situation early on in the pandemic. So at my workplace, we have this policy where we can donate vacation time to colleagues who have difficulty, especially during the pandemic, right? So I ended up giving a number of vacation days to my colleague who was taking care of her nephew. Her sister had COVID-19, I think. Now, later that year, I didn't think I would need them, but later that year I had a conference online, obviously. This is 2020 we're talking about. And I really needed the day off because the conference was in a Taiwan time zone. So I took a number of days off, and I didn't have any vacation left, so I marked it as unpaid. When I got my check, the first check after that, I noticed they hadn't docked anything out of my check. I thought, well, that makes sense because, we're in a pandemic. But then 2 weeks later, they docked it. And that really upset. I wish they had just docked it on the first check because it was really upset. The second week, it was close to Christmas time. And also, I really didn't think they were going to dock it. And to be honest, I think they made a blunder docking it. I mean, we're all getting our work done. We're all taking good care of our needs and her family needs. And going to this conference to further my education. For my students, I work at a technical college. I mean, what's not to like about that? And again, common sense, right? Use this, right? The book might say to dock it, but how about use something? Use the material in here, right? Too often we get so fixated on living our lives by the book. Now, I think part of the reason for living our lives by the book is that we don't want to appear to have favoritism or discrimination. But again, that anti-discrimination basically means don't use this, right? Read the book, right? And I think that's really silly.